Hello, my name is Gabriel, and this is FinTax Podcast, a podcast that is geared towards your financial literacy, towards your financial health, and towards your financial wellness. On today's episode of my podcast, I'm going to be talking to you about something that is very, very important. It's called the 5 basic steps that you could take to get rid of your debt. You know, debt in itself can be something that could seem an impossible project. Getting rid of your debt may feel like an impossible project when you think about how much you've incurred over a period of time, and it could also make you feel overwhelmed or even frightened by how much debt you have accrued over the period of time. You know, and you may also not know where to start from in getting to think about how you could get rid of this debt. That's why this episode is designed for you today. Today, I'm going to be giving you some 5 basic steps that are very important, and it will help you start and place you on the path of getting rid of your debt. So let's get started. Number 1, you have to set a goal. You have to set a goal. All successful projects starts with a goal, with a clear goal. You know, if you want to establish a project, there has to be a goal behind that project. If you look at it critically, for every successful project, there is a goal behind it. So it's very important that when you want to get rid of your debt, you need to make sure that there's a goal set on how you want to be able to clear your debt. You know, and you need to understand that regardless of the kind of goal that you are setting, you know, the goal might be to get rid of maybe one particular debt, or it could actually be to get rid of all the debts, but it has to be smart. You know, it has to be measurable, it has to be realistic. You know, you have to write it down, you have to put it somewhere that you can see it every day. When you look at it, you can see it every day. This will actually keep you focused. You know, it gives you clear focus on how you really want to go about the plan of clearing your debt. This is very, very important to take note of. Number 2, you have to actually make a list of your current debts. You might have several debts that you've incurred over the period of time. What you need to do is actually to have a list of all these debts that you've incurred over a period of time. In order for you to be able to get rid of all these debts, you need an accurate and complete list. It's very important. You have to get a list of all the debts you have, and then you have to need to get a copy of each of your information, like financial information about the debts you incurred. It could be a credit card debt. Then you have to get a credit card report, you know, having all the details of all the debts or the transactions that you've incurred over that period of time. It could be a loan. You have to get then all the adequate information about the loan that you've taken from the bank. You have to make sure that you know what's the duration, what's the repayment plan, what's the time frame for repayment. You know, all these are very vital information that you must actually have when you are trying to eliminate your debt, or you are trying to clear your debts. This should give you a clarity. You know, having all the information, it gives you a clarity about your current debt, and also it gives you more additional information as to how you plan to clear it. You know, and you know, you should also know that judgments are the results of creditors suing you. So if your credit reports are as something that actually shows several activities, it's important for you to make sure that you have adequate information, because if you don't repay your credits or your debts at when you should, you know, you can incur more interest rates, especially when it comes to credit card debts, or the bank can actually sue you for delayed payments. You know, so this is very, very important for you to take note of. You know, so you need to have every adequate information. You know, you should be sure to include all the information. You know, if it's a loan from the bank, you need to know what's the duration. Like I said earlier, you need to know what's the duration. Having every adequate financial information about your debts gives you clarity, and it gives you a 360 view of the kind of debts you have incurred, and what's the nature and the scope of your debts. This is very, very important to take note of. Number 3, you need to gather additional information on the debt repayment. This is really key. First, you have to learn about the state of your debt. You have to understand the length and time that you have to be able to repay this debt. This is especially important when you have debt collections. Do not stop paying a debt because it's close to its limit, especially for credit cards that have special limits. Don't stop paying those debts because it's just close to the limit. No, you may want to get legal guidance with respect to this matter on how you could actually handle debts that are close or past limitations. It's very important for you to take note, because some people wait until it gets to the limit before they start offsetting or clearing those debts, which is not a wise thing to do. So if necessary, you need to use the information you've gathered from your debt repayment to prioritize the repayment of the debt. All the informations you've gathered, you have to have a clear plan of how you have to repay those debts, because the truth is once you have a debt accrued and you want to repay it, you have to make it priority. You have to prioritize those debts. That's one of the best ways to be able to clear it. You have to be intentional about it, and prioritize those debts. Generally, secure debt is always a priority. When you have debts that are everywhere secured, and that this debt you have to have a plan. You have to make it a priority. Don't start spending money from your budget unwisely on things that are not actually of necessity to you, when you have a lot of debts to offset. You have to make those debts a priority. It's very, very important. Try as much as possible to clear those debts as quick and as fast as possible, and this is very, very key. And that will take me to my 4th point. Number 4, you have to make a plan. You have to make a plan. After you've set the goal, after you've made a list of your current debts, and you've gathered all the additional informations that you require for the debt repayment, the next thing you will want to do is to make a plan. And when it comes to making a plan, there are 2 general plans or approaches to reducing or getting rid of your debts that I want to share with you. The first one is actually very common. It's something that people normally get themselves more involved in when it comes to eliminating their debt, and that's called the high interest rate method. So this method, sometimes they call it the avalanche method. It's a method where this kind of approach is for example, you have a list of your debts from the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate. So what do you have to do here? What are you trying to achieve here? You have to make all of your regular payments. If you have any money left in your budget, you have to apply you have to apply this money to the debt with the highest interest rate. So when you apply the debt, you apply this money to the debt with the highest interest rate. What you are trying to achieve here is the goal here is to reduce or eliminate this debt as fast as possible. It's very important, because when you clear the debts with the highest interest rate, it helps you get rid of your debt faster than when you actually focus on the one with the low interest rate. Because when you focus on the ones with a low interest rate, you'll find out that the more you are focusing on the debt with the low interest rate, the one with the highest interest rate is accruing even more. So it's very important that you pay attention to the debts with the high interest rate. That's where this method, the high interest rate method or the avalanche method, comes into play. Try as much as possible to allocate the funds from your budget into eliminating and offsetting the debts with a high interest rate. This is always very important, because once you have this paid off, you can continue the process with the debts with the next highest interest rate, which is you could also say you can focus more on the debts that has a lower interest rate. So that's one of the methods you could use. One of the plan when making a plan, you could use the high interest rate method. Another method that is also important is the low balance method. This sometimes is called the snowball method. This is a method that is also very common. With this approach, what you are trying to achieve here is that you list your debts from the lowest total balance to the highest. So what you do is you have all your debts. So from the total balance of the debts that you owe, you list them in priority, in numerical balance, from the highest to the lowest, from the lowest to the highest. And what you do afterwards is you have to make all of your regular payments. If you have any money left in your budget, you have to apply it to the debt with the lowest balance. So what you are trying to achieve here, the goal is to reduce or eliminate the debt as fast as possible. Once this debt is paid off, you can then continue with the process, applying any other additional fund to the debt that has the next smallest balance. So as you eliminate from the smallest balance to the highest balance, you see that there's a motivating factor that comes into play. With this method, it's supposed to be more motivating because you see progress faster. As you eliminate your debt, you know that you are done with this one, then you move on to the next. And it's always very important to take note of this particular method. So that will take me to the fifth point, which is number 5. After you set a plan, the next thing you want to do is to stick to your plan. So many people, they set plans, they make plans, but at the end of the day, they find it very difficult to stick to the plan. So what you have to do is, after you make a plan, it's always very important to be disciplined about it. In one of my episodes, I talked about financial discipline. You can listen to that episode and get a clear description of what financial discipline means. But on this particular episode, I'm talking about ways that you could actually get rid of your debt. So, like I'm saying, stick to your plan. Once you have a plan in place, you have to be intentional and get to stick to the plan. Don't try to go about trying to say, okay, because I've been able to eliminate some part of the debt, I see that I'm becoming free financially, and then I just relax. No, try as much as possible to be focused about your plan and make sure that you stick to the plan to the very later. This is very, very important when it comes to getting rid of your debt. Financial discipline is always very, very important. So each month, if you are getting closer to your goal of reducing or eliminating your debt, in this challenging time, sometimes things can be very challenging. We have other expenses we have to focus on, friends, family, and all that. But then it's always important, when you have a debt, that should be your priority. Try as much as possible to stick to the plan that you had. And once you make the plan, make sure that you follow it. They may even recommend a debt management plan for you from your financial advisor. You have to follow those debt management plan. It's always very key, to helping you clear your debt. And finally, you have to remember that if you have more debt than you can handle, you may be able to find relief through bankruptcy. This is very, very key. So that's why I always recommend and advise people who are into this debt. Once they see that their debt is becoming overwhelming, they should seek for financial advice, seek for financial help. Don't try to be on yourself or by myself and you're trying to say, okay, I want to try to figure out this by myself. No, that's why we have certified financial advisors, people that are there to help you and give you guidance on how to get able to get rid of all this debt. So these are the 5 steps I'm going to share on this episode with you today. I'm going to quickly run through them again. Number 1, I talked about setting a goal. Set a goal is always important. Number 2, make a list of all your current debts, all the debts you have. You have to make a list of all those debts and make sure you have them in writing. Very, very important. Number 3, you have to gather additional information on your debt repayment. How you, all the information, financial information, it could be your credit card information, transactions that have been going on the credit card, and the terms of the repayment, also if it's a loan, and the duration of the repayment and all that. All this information you have to gather. Number 4, I talked about making a plan. You have to set a plan, And I told you, for every successful project, there's always a plan behind it. So it's very, very important. And I gave you 2 strategic methods that you could use to eliminate your debt based on this plan. I talked about the high interest rate method and also the low balance method, which is also referred to as the snowball effect. And finally, I actually gave you the 5th point, which is sticking with the plan. Sticking with your plan. You had a plan in place. You have to stick and follow the plan. And I told you it's always important to be financially disciplined when it comes to sticking with the plan and getting rid of your debt. So these are the 5 important steps I will be sharing with you on this episode. of this particular podcast. I believe you must have benefited a lot from this particular episode. I want you to let others know about fintechs. Fintech is very, very important. We talk about a lot of financial matters that are very, very key and important to your financial wealth, financial awareness, and financial health. The goal with fintech is to create wealth, to help you make the right financial decisions for yourself, for your family, for your business, and for your career. So I want to say thank you for listening, and I will see you again in my next episode. Until then, stay financially healthy, stay financially safe, and cheers. God bless you.